Hi, everyone. My name is Odunlami, immigration attorney from the Odunlami Law Firm in New Jersey. We are here to help our fellow immigrants get their green cards. And today I have a great topic. So if you know somebody who could benefit from this, get them online right now. Don't forget to subscribe so that you get notification when I come on. And today I want to talk about marriage-based interviews. That's what I want to talk about. Red flags. What are those things that USCIS sees in your application that makes them think that it's not a real relationship? Now, this is really, really, really frustrating for a lot of people because it seems that immigrants are held to a higher standard, right? So what a non-immigrant could do and it would be okay, or it's not a problem. Certain things in the relationship that they wouldn't that USS may not have had a problem if it was a US citizen marrying another US citizen. It's regarded as a red flag when it's a US citizen or green card holder marrying an intending immigrant. And I'll go through this because I want you guys to understand what you're supposed to be putting together when you're putting in your application. And it's sometimes people come to my office after they've been denied, and I'm looking at the submission that they put in previously, and I'm like, I would deny you too if you gave me this, and I'm on your side. So it's really important for you guys to make sure that you know the information to put in. And so sometimes I have clients who say, well, I had all these pictures, but it was in my old phone. I lost the phone. Listen, there's no reason for you not to have your pictures backed up on the cloud. And because you're an intending immigrant and you know how hard and how stressful USCIS can make your this process, you really should be really intent on making sure that you have your information. Nobody's really looking for original documents. So if you get information, scan it. Put it somewhere that you're not going to be looking for it or saying, well, I had it when I moved, I didn't have it anymore. That's really not helpful to you because the burden of proving that it's a legitimate relationship is on you. So the excuses of my phone was missing, all the pictures were there, is really not going to be helpful to you. So I'm going to do this real quick, and then if you have any questions, you guys please put in the questions in the comments. I'll try to get to them. I don't have a lot of time today, but I want to get through this. So let's talk about the things that USCIS looks at and thinks, this is a red flag. I don't believe it's a real relationship. And just to put this out there, if USCIS determines or says that your marriage is a sham marriage, or you haven't met your burden of proving that it's a real marriage, that's a real problem for you, because it could be a permanent bar on your ability to ever get a green card from anybody, whether it's another relationship or a child or a parent. That's how serious this is. So that's why you have to take this really seriously. So let's get started, okay? So Instagram, can you see me? Hi guys on Instagram. And so let's start with different addresses. Now, if you live with your spouse and you have different addresses, that could be a problem. I'm not saying that any of these factors that I'm going to talk about will deny you a green card. It just means that USCIS will pay greater attention to your case. So if you don't have the same address, what could be the reason? Well, it could be that maybe one partner is in school and is attending school, and the other partner is in another place, maybe in another school, right? That's a reason, right? And that's a reason that you can explain away. However, a reason you cannot explain away is both of you living in the same state and not living together. And how will USCIS know this? They will check your records with the Postal Service. They will check your records. So if you are married, you should be living together. And it's not an excuse to say, well, I'm working here and he's working there, because unless you're doing the kind of work that you cannot move from that place, there's no reason for you to go not be with your spouse, find another job in the state your spouse is in. So you can't say I'm working at Walmart in New Jersey, but my spouse lives in Texas, and we can't live together because I have a job at Walmart in New Jersey. That's not helpful. So go and find a job in Texas, okay? That's my advice. So another red flag that USCIS will focus on is if both of you don't speak the same language. Of course, that makes sense, because how do you communicate if you're not speaking the same language, right? That makes sense, right? So if you're with somebody and you're not speaking the same language, USCIS will scrutinize this. I mean, I've heard of a case where the couple didn't speak the same language because they were much older, but the husband could interpret everything the wife was saying, even though they didn't speak each other's language really, 100% perfectly, okay? So another thing that USCIS looks into is when there's a big age difference, right? So I'm going to say, and this is just based on my experience, anything about 10 years and above will make them give the case a second glance. And I have noticed that USCIS seems to be more accepting of a big age difference where the man is older and the woman is younger than vice versa. I don't know why. So if you have an older woman and a younger man, they'll kind of give that case a second look. Does that mean that you will not get your green card? No, it doesn't mean that at all. It just means that you better be ready to, have other good evidence to show it's a real, genuine relationship. So now the next thing is when you live in the same house. Now, typically this happens when they interview you and you guys are living in the same house, but you don't know each other's schedule. You don't know what time he goes to work or what time she goes to work, what time she comes back. That's suspect as far as USCIS is concerned. On the other hand, if they feel that you guys are like two ships moving in the night, where whenever you're working nights and he's working daytimes or whatever, and you barely see each other, they will scrutinize that relationship because they want to make sure that you're just not avoiding each other because you want to live in the same house, but you don't want to really see each other because it's not a real marriage. So let's see. And so, hi, Odunlami Busari, how are you? I'm going to get back to you guys. I just want to go through this real quick and I'll come answer questions. So now, if there's a difference, if you guys have some, difference in religion, difference in race, difference in socioeconomic background, cultural background, sometimes yes, your USCIS will take a second look, I mean, today, of course, people are marrying from, different religions, different races and all that, but they typically will take a look at that relationship if there are other factors that make them think that it may not be a real marriage. Another thing that stands out to them is unequal educational background. So if you have somebody, maybe a man who has maybe a master's degree, or maybe he's a lawyer in his own country or something like that, and then he's married to a woman who has no educational background, who didn't maybe graduate from high school, they could look at that. Now, does that mean that it's dispositive that it's not a real relationship? No, because people fall in love. Love finds you. However, USCIS is going to be looking at that to determine that it's not a fraudulent relationship. So another one is secret marriage. And when I say secret marriage, I mean that you haven't shown them that people, your family and friends know that you're married to each other, right? So for instance, you're on social media, but your social media, and trust me, USCIS scrutinizes your social media. If you have an application out there, they are looking through your social media. They're looking through your Facebook, Instagram. They're even able sometimes to figure out or do what your interests are in certain social media groups that you're in. So just know that. So if you're on social media and you're married and there's no indication that you're married, nothing on your social media shows that you're married, that's suspect. And if you're in social media and you indicate you're married but you're acting like you're not married, that is suspect as well. So you want to be careful with social media because sometimes USCIS will misunderstand certain behavior. Like in Nigeria, you tend to call maybe your in-laws, maybe our wife, or that kind of thing, and you don't want them reading that thinking, oh, how many people are they married to? Just as long as you have an application, right? Just be careful, because you don't want to make a difficult process more difficult, or put yourself in a situation where this officer is really hammering at you, because it can be really, really uncomfortable. So the next topic we're going to talk about is when you get married and it's too convenient. You got married just at the right time to get yourself in status. For instance, you're on an F1 visa, you finish your optical practical training, OPT, and boom, you're in love and you get married just before your OPT expires. Or you come into the country before the 6 months of the B2, the I-94, the time that you're allowed to stay here. Boom, you're in love and you're married. So those are the things that you want to, USCIS always checks that, is your marriage convenient, So they also look at people who get married really quickly. Like, you get married as soon as you met. Now, we all know that in Hollywood that happens all the time, but in immigration land, no, that's something that they look at with a lot of suspicion. Maybe Pamela Anderson can marry Tommy Lee over a weekend, and that's fine. But if you do that, they will really scrutinize your application. So for a lot of people that get married within 3 months, 6 months, that's, they look at that as suspects, And they also look at suspects if you get married soon after you get a divorce, because they're going to be wondering if you were in that relationship, the previous, if you had an affair, where is the affair the real relationship and the marriage the cover-up? So those are the things you want to be aware of. Does that mean that you can't get married just as soon as your divorce is over? No, it doesn't mean that. Just be prepared to show that the prior marriage was a real marriage, and that it didn't work out, and this is, real marriage too. All right. And now, if you have a spouse, a U.S. citizen spouse or green card holder spouse who has a history of sponsoring other people. So if your U.S. citizen spouse or green card holder spouse has sponsored somebody before, whether or not they got the green card, whether it was abandoned, makes no difference. But if they sponsor somebody before, that's a red flag. Okay? Now, I don't want to be politically incorrect, or whatever, but USCIS will look at countries with a history of immigration fraud. If you come from a country where your divorce decrees are suspect, because USCIS sees a lot of fake divorce decrees coming there, or a lot of people who come in with B1, B2 visas and never leave, they're going to scrutinize those relationships if you get married to a U.S. citizen or green card holder. Another thing is, if you're a woman of childbearing age and you're married to somebody and you don't have children with them. Now, I'm not going to go as fast to say that it's a red flag, but let me put it this way. If you have children, that's evidence gold with your spouse, okay? So another thing is impoverished. When you're married to somebody who is impoverished, a U.S. citizen or green card holder who is really, really poor, has no work, doesn't work, is on government assistance, and you get married to them, USCIS looks at that relationship. They suspect that maybe the person is trying to help you and you're paying them and you're making a quick buck. They're making a quick buck out of it because they're poor, right? So, the last thing I'm going to talk about is if you have a U.S. citizen, either spouse, who have a history of crime, fraud, or lies, they're going to be looking at that. So, because they think that person is more likely to enter into a fraudulent marriage. So having said this, I'm going to tell you that this does not mean that if you have none of this, that you're going to go in smoothly and you're not going to have a problem. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't also mean that if you have any of this, that you're not going to get your green card. It doesn't mean that. So I'm not giving you this to make you all nervous. Oh, my spouse is 20 years older than me. What am I going to do? No, that's not what it means. It just means that being aware of this means that you have to come to the table with really good evidence. And I've talked about evidence, the kind of evidence you want to bring forward so that USCIS knows that you're in a real relationship, such as the financial commingling. You want to show that you and your spouse are financially commingled. Your lives, you're on the lease. You have joint bank accounts. You're filing paperwork, taxes together. You want to show that you have joint utility bills together. If you've traveled, vacation, that kind of stuff, you want to have all of that. If you have children together, you want to have that. If you have pictures with family or friends in different situations, different times, different occasions, you want to show that because you want people to know that your family and friends know you to be a couple. All right. So I've done a lot of videos that talk about bona fide marriages and how to show that your relationship is real. Right. So, take a look through my, through my videos. I'm probably going to do another video on that soon. So, like I said, if you are in a relationship with a U.S. citizen, marital relationship with a U.S. citizen or green card holder, and you're going to be, you're going to attend this interview, you want to first of all make sure that your application is solid. And then when you go for your interview, you want to prepare for your interview. I've talked about this before because people go for the interview, they get nervous. Spouses don't remember the same things because everyone, typically, I have to be honest, men don't always remember certain things, about relationships. Women tend to. So you want to make sure that that's not held against you because a lot of times these are just innocent mistakes. But something that could be a really nice interview can really become antagonistic because you might have said something that was inconsistent, and then from there it hits a different trajectory and it becomes a very difficult and different type of interview. So now, nothing I say here, is suggesting that you should do this yourself. You really should get an attorney. These things are really important. Making sure that you're with an experienced attorney who knows how to present your case in the best light. And while you're in that process, you want to make sure that you're getting that good information so that when your attorney needs it, you can give it to them. So my office is always happy to assist our fellow immigrants to get their paper together. We try to make this stressful process as stressless as possible. You can reach us at 973-993-1900. So let me look at the questions. Thank you guys for your patience. So Odunlami Busari says, what about those that are in Nigeria and wish to get a green card? Is there anyhow you can help? So Busari, that's a great question. So for those who are in Nigeria and or anywhere in the country that need to get a green card, USCIS has certain pathways to a green card, and you may not qualify for these pathways, unfortunately. So some of those pathways are through family, through employment. So there's a whole list of how to get here. So it might be something that you should look into. See if you are married to a U.S. citizen, or you have a child who's a U.S. citizen, or a spouse, a sibling who's a U.S. citizen, or green card holder. There's just a whole list, of ways to get in here. It's not easy. I'm not going to lie to you because America doesn't have an open border. Okay, I hope that answered your question, Busari. So, and then Steve Miller says, hi, good morning. Can someone come to America on a tourist visa and get married? Hi, Stephen. That's a great question. Actually, that really happens quite a lot. However, I'm going to tell you that the tourist visa, the B2 visa, the B1 visa, is supposed to be a visa where you come to visit and go back. So if the Customs and Border Patrol or the embassy where you're trying to get a visa suspect that you're coming in here for the purpose of getting married, they're likely to deny you the visa, right? The visitor's visa. However, if you come in here and you change your mind and you meet somebody and you get married, there's absolutely that happens, that's not a problem. However, like I said, you want to be able to show that your intent when you got the tourist visa was not to come in here and get married. So if that becomes an issue, a lot of times they don't press the issue unless it's something you said at during the interview in your country, some of those things that you put down when you do the application sometimes comes back during the marriage interview. So you want to be careful with that. And now the next question is from Rachel Yare. Rachel says, "Hi, Miss Ifeoma. If your spouse mixed up answers during the interview due to hypertensive symptoms, what can you do in this case?" Hi, Rachel. This is a great question because a lot of times there's times when people go for interviews and the answers are inconsistent due to health issues. So if this is you, I mean, I'd like to know more about your case, so you feel free to call me. But I think if you can back up your this assertion with something from the doctor saying that this is what happens to them, whatever, that might be helpful. But a case like that, I think you want to talk to an attorney because it really depends on what was said, and it really depends on the person's medical condition. And the best thing to do might be, if you've been denied, might be to refile and be able to present that right at the interview. So you want to talk to an attorney actually, because this is a very fact-specific scenario. So you guys, it's been lovely talking to you. I'm going to sign off now, and I will try to come back next week. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care.